Hey everybody, great to have you back here for our price patterns class. My name is Mike Fairborn. I'm sitting in for Rachel Deshelle, who is out today, but you'll see her in next week and the following weeks. But it's good to be here with you today, taking a look at a lot of price patterns, folks, looking at the structure of price patterns specifically. And to do that, we're going to be looking at a lot of different examples, price patterns, probably 6 different price patterns across daily, weekly time frames. If you are new, welcome. I do see many of you that I do recognize. Welcome to you. Great to have you on board, folks. Any questions, comments you might have, throw those in the chat for us. We do have Brett Crowther in the chat. Appreciate Brett being here to help out with the chat. Got my back on that. And looking forward to it, folks. If you're not familiar with price patterns, though, recognizable formations that we do see on the chart that are relatively consistent. There are variations amongst those price patterns, but what traders do really appreciate about them is that potential expectation, or that expectation, I should say, for a potential price target on the chart. So we're going to be looking at those price patterns, explaining them, and then also tapping into the potential price targets as well that come along with those. So looking forward to it. And hey, let's do this. Let's dive in right into some disclosures to get the show going here. Great to have you all here. All right. Information here is for general information purposes only, should not be considered an individualized recommendation or personalized investment advice. Now, the paper money software application, it too is for education purposes only. As it states here, investing does involve risk, including the loss of principal. Some additional points listed here. Now, there are risks associated with investing in dividend-paying stocks, including but not limited to the risk that stocks may reduce or stop paying dividends altogether. So I want you to be mindful of that, just generally speaking, as we go into this. Past performance, no guarantee of future results, and no guarantee that the execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price. Hey, also a quick note too, in terms of REITs, that would be real estate investment trusts. Real estate investment trusts may pose additional risks such as real estate industry risk, interest rate risk, and liquidity risk, among others. So with that, I want to go ahead and get started here. Let's go ahead and share our screen. And folks, right in front of us, what do we have? We have a price pattern forming. I want to start off first with, as we do explore the S&P 500 index right here. And actually, we do have sort of a similar type pattern over here on the left-hand side of our screen, right over here, just a little bit further to the left. That is a triangle. It was an ascending triangle, and boy, did it break down. But we have since come into another triangle formation, as you'll see up top here. Now, we've got a sideways move, and notice this is happening after a long, extended upward move in the S&P 500, and we might be coming close to, perhaps, mid-July-ish, what some traders will refer to as the summer rally that can extend a little bit into August as well. We don't know if we'll get that, but this may in fact be setting up. So talking about our first price pattern, let me draw it over here first, just so you have a recognition of it. And we're really looking at the structure of this pattern. A price pattern, a triangle specifically. Let's just say we're looking at an upward move like we've got here. We've got an initial move down, up, down, up, and potentially down again. Now, a standard triangle is noted for a 5-wave move. In Elliott wave, that's an A, B, C, D, E. But over here, I'm just going to label these. That would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if we get it. Sometimes they fall into what's referred to as a pennant type pattern. Now, a pennant pattern is also, it's in the name, it is a pattern itself, but that is normally just noted as a 3 move, generally speaking. Now, they can be longer. Like I said, there are variations, but a pennant might be something like this, a sort of a sideways move. You get those into bull flags or flag patterns, which I'm going to talk about here just momentarily, but that's a pennant type pattern. But this over here is a triangle. You've got the 5-wave move in here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or A, B, C. Now, with this, the thing you want to note here is you're getting lower highs and conversely higher lows. That's what brings us in together into this tightening range as we look at the S&P 500. A good gauge anyways, just to see what other stocks might be doing as well. because they are in this basket of the market. Uh, so there you go. But this is what you get when you get the lower highs off the top and higher lows off the bottom, that sideways range. If we look at this right now, let's count it. How are we standing here? One, two, still coiling up here. Three, four, and five potentially right here. Okay. Now, if in fact we get this, the clear move out of a triangle pattern that traders would look for is a break above one of the channel lines, or I should say these diagonal trend lines. One ascending down from the top, the other ascending up from the bottom. Now, what often is expected, it doesn't happen every time, but traders will anticipate the price of the underlying security, in this case, it is the S&P 500 index, going in the direction of the trend, which is what? Up. And I just mentioned the potential for a possible summer rally. We don't know if we'll get that. This is also referred to as kind of mid-June to July, oftentimes, not every time, but this is like the summer doldrums is what they refer to it as, and then followed by the summer rally. We don't know if that'll unfold, but the triangle suggests that it might. Okay, so with this pattern, though, one of the key points is that makes these patterns so interesting and unique is the potential for a price projection. And this is how that price projection is done on a triangle. We take the high level and the low level, and we've got this price range right there. So that price range is measured. You can kind of just eyeball it over here. I wanted to highlight it first, just so you could see it. But we can be more exact by using the Thinkorswim tools right off the platform. So a good quick way to get to those, off the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, just right down here, you can see that. Click on the, mine's a diagonal line, just this icon down below. We can select, I'm just going to use that trend line right now to highlight this. And what I'm going to simply do is just take the distance in range right here so that I've got it. We're going to plot this against that trend line off the top and off the bottom. We're going to make the projection to the upside in case we were to get that move to the upside. Now, the projection is going to be the longest leg of that triangle right here. A good quick way to get this is just to simply right click right here, activate that. There are a couple of ways to do it. We could duplicate it, we could activate it. If we want to keep the line there, we could duplicate it, but click on activate. I'm just going to drag this over and highlight it. I'm just going to anticipate. Let's see. It does move along this line and the projection can change, but let's just say I'm just anticipating, let's just say there is a break that occurs about right there. I'll pull it down just a little bit more about right there. Now that would be the upward price projection of the triangle. And that would be really any sort of a triangle that we're going to be looking at. I got a few more to show you as we'll start off with just kind of the triangle theme here. But that could be the anticipation. But what's the sign? What are the initial signs that it could be unfolding? Well, the trend line break off the top. We just kind of mentioned it, but that right there. So yeah, and what other sort of indications you might be looking at there? Maybe you're looking at some other indicators to confirm strength of the breakout. Another key one here the traders would focus in on too. I'm going to really zoom in on this actually. Let's go to a 6-month chart. Highlight this even a little bit better. Oh, perfect. Okay, so notice one quick note on that triangle that the diagonal sloping trend line coming down off the top is a little bit lower than the prior high. This is so close, some traders might do something just like that and say, well, hey, I broke the trend line, but also I'm taking out the prior highs too. Now, what this could do is for them, it could increase the expectation that we're ready to go. And maybe that is the upward, that's a level that we could hit, right? It is an expectation. That's just the key note. Anytime you're looking at sort of price patterns, that's our kind of our focus, right? There is an expectation that there's a price pattern in there, but we don't really have the price pattern unfolding until, the price pattern unfolding until that price target is also hit. So there's a lot of things going on, but it does give us a little bit of a, you could say, oh, I just changed everything, but a little bit of a roadmap of where prices could go if, in fact, we get a breakout. Prices don't have to stop at this level. They could, in fact, continue. And you'll see that with a lot of these, say, for example, inverted head and shoulders bottoms. I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But when those are broken, there might be a price target up in this range here, But that oftentimes, for stocks that are bottoming, it only means the starting point of an extended rally. It can. It could just be the starting point. So it's an interesting way to get in. Same holds true with the triangle. Even if we hit that level, we still could continue on higher as well, as we may be in an AI kind of cycle right now, AI innovative cycle in terms of price strength, etc. All right, so let's continue on. I want to stick with this theme though, because we do have it up right now. Here is another pattern setting up on a triangle type pattern. This is ANET or Arista Networks. You see it over here. Let's go back to it 1 year. A lot of times you can get a lot of different, a better perspective of the trend going back. And you can see that over here just by going back to a 1 year chart. Notice we did take out a prior high over here. Ah, straighten that out. There we go. Watch this. So a prior high over here, we took it out. And so there is maybe some strength in an upward trend. Important to keep that in mind as we look at this. Now I'm going to use the Thinkorswim tools. They're a little bit more exact, obviously, than my drawing. But if you come over here and just click on that initial one, there you go. So we've got some off the bottom here, a line off the bottom. Notice this is a little bit different. We've got similar highs on the top, but yet higher lows off the bottom side, right? This is referred to as a right angled triangle. Now, similar projection here, and some would even refer to this as maybe like a wedge type pattern. But it does clearly fall into a right angled triangle. And notice one thing we're seeing here is we are getting closer and closer to this potential breakout. One thing about the right angle triangle that makes it quite strong is you're testing a resistance level. Test, test. Look at all this. So we've got this initial level that we did break these highs. We tested it again. Again, we got very close here. A couple days ago, we tested it, and here we are again today. Now, folks, a fascinating thing with the right angle triangle is, look what we're doing. We're making progress to the resistance point. It is making higher lows, and with that, a lot of traders will say that the expectation for breaking this resistance level right there is higher because there is progression here in that trend. And it's putting pressure on this resistance level at 180. For that very reason, a trader could say this could be an interesting one to keep an eye on, right? There are other instruments that they could look at too to maybe start to get into a trade like this. But let me just show you this over here. If we do the same initial projection with the price pattern, taking it from the high down to the low so that we get that price range right there. There we go. So pretty exact from the highs, as you can see. I'm going to right click, activate it, and just pull it over to, you know exactly where, right there. That's where we would take it to. So that is the price projection for the right angle triangle, right up here, right up around that 220 range. So not a bad move. What is that? About a 40-point run, if in fact it does work out. Now, a key point, what do you note on any price pattern as you're looking at it? As you look at any price pattern here, a lot of times there's support and there's resistance. Do we buy? Do you buy right at resistance? Sometimes traders would say no. They'd say, wait, we've only hit it, what, 5 times? I know there is progression and we do have longer term strength of the trend, no doubt. That looks positive, but it's a big but though, because we're at resistance still. We may want to give it a little bit of room here, a little bit of rope, so to speak, to get above that range and to kind of show us that, yes, we are overtaking that 180. Because maybe there are 40 points or around 40 points in there with that move. So why not kind of wait and just get maybe a little bit of information here and increase the expectation of that run going higher? You know, an ascending triangle, Chris, interesting you'd bring that point up. I actually have an ascending triangle that's more akin to an ascending triangle where you're getting both. Some might call it that, but the right angled, at least in terms of, let's say, the old classic versions like the old timers had and the text that they'd written in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you're going to get that resistance level up top. There within all these price patterns, there are some variations though, right? So I get you. It's interesting. Whatever we want to call it, we have still similar. We can still see a similar projection. The ascending triangle, though, it would be ascending in terms of even this range over here. In other words, we'd still be getting moderate higher highs. We're going to dive into that just next here. But there you go, folks. And by the way, a quick note here. I want to point this out. Tapping into some of the great tools on the platform as well. One thing that we can utilize is the price, excuse me, the alerts, the price alerts. I'm going to right click up top here and you can set this up. It's just a cool tool to have, such a cool tool to have. Come down here after you've right clicked to create an alert. And then up top here, what you can simply do is just say breakout question mark. For example, you can take a look at it if it breaks above that range that we've highlighted here, which is just above 180. You can change that number right here as well. Make sure that if you wanted to get a text on this, scoot on down to this notify with sound and mobile. You've actually got to pull it down. You've got to have the send push notifications to mobile device checked in that box. Believe me, I didn't have mine checked and I was wondering why I wasn't getting those for a while, and that was it. You got to have that. By the way, to set this up in general, go up top to setup, application settings, and notifications, email notifications, text messages as well. A quick note on that, just because I bring it up. Alerts by themselves are not guaranteed to be delivered or delivered at any specific speed or time frame and should not be used as a replacement for actively being aware of your positions, right? Now, if I had any issues with alerts, no, not during real-time stuff. I haven't had any issues, but we just want to state, yeah, things can happen. But it is a great tool nonetheless. Did I not put that in? I went through all that. I didn't click. I think I clicked cancel instead of create. So here we go. We'll go ahead again. I'm going to go ahead and just type in exactly what I said. Breakout question mark. Because I'd like to know for the swing trade class and others. I'm going to go ahead and go right click over here. We'll just put it like at, let's do this. How about 180.5? Make it real specific. Create. There you go. This can be adjusted too on the fly by pulling this up and down. Just a great tool with price patterns, a price pattern, potential price pattern setup to alert you if you don't want to have to look at these all the time. All right, while I'm at it, folks, if you are getting value from this presentation, be sure to smash that like button. It lets us know that this content is useful and informative for you. Also, wanted to say too, would love to have you follow us on Trader Talks channel. We've done a really good job with this channel as of late in terms of getting the word out and building up our subscriber base. We're, as you can see right here, just over 200,000 subscribers. Love to have you on board if you are interested. You get these playlists, of course, like the other coaches state, yes, it is a free service. It is absolutely free, and you get access. We've lined up these playlists for you so you can come down and take a look at a few of these. One of the things we'll talk about within price patterns, I talk about it a lot, is right there. Scan for swing trade setups. We build a little scan to help find flag patterns specifically. That is in here, but be sure to take a look at Rachel's class. She does a great job here. Price patterns, trading price patterns. You can take a look at her full playlist in here of prior classes she's done. I'm going to post this into the chat just so you all have an easy link to click on. And here it is right there. So Trader Talks. Love to have you subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And with that too, be sure to follow Brett and I on X. Brett Crowther CS, Mike Fairborn CS. Actually have mine up here as well. So there is just the X handle where we do post chart related content, economic calendar, whatever the case might be, content in there. If you're not already following us, there's a link right there if you are in fact interested in doing so. Okay, now I mentioned it. We're going to be kind of rapid pace here as we get into the rest of this, these price patterns. All right, so let's do this. By the way, yeah, a good quick note. We are talking, just looking at some of the notes and just to follow up in the chat here. On this breakout, this same price range that we had made this projection on, I made it to the upside because, we'd seen some recent strength, right? And maybe we did look at the S&P 500, the possibility for that breakout, the possibility of a summer rally after the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consolidation range. And we're getting into that coiling. And when prices coil, they can spring out of that coil That's an upside move, but this same price range that I just highlighted here that we built from the price pattern can still be used to the downside in the same measurement, breaking the lower trend line too. All right, so it's up or down, but we're just making projections based upon the trend, direction of the stock, etc. You can tie a lot of things into it, but great. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. All right, here. So here's the next one. So here is Best Buy. Now, Best Buy, a little bit more akin, like I mentioned, to an ascending triangle because you've got the highs also going up. Let's use a more exact line to highlight this. Um, right up top here, I'm going to try, look at this trend line right here. This is this is one that has, it's making higher highs. It's not exactly like, you know, a perfect line over here. Whoops. Oh, that one. If I'm drawing off the closing prices, it actually pretty much, it's very close to it. See, this one's the top and bottom lines aren't always parallel. That's what you're going to get with these channel lines. Sometimes you get a perfect channel, other times, and most of the time you won't. So just go kind of a freehand here, highlight this, and click again. There is your ascending triangle. Ooh, and see, you can see the ascension now of it going higher here. It's ascending across its initial point, but we're still looking at the same price projection up or down from that range. But one of the key notes here is that we are sort of coiling up here, as you can see, tighter and tighter and tighter. How many lines, how many legs is that? Really like one, two, three, four, five. We did technically break out and we're holding back down here. So, we'll see what we get. Do we start to break out here or not? Best Buy. Okay, big gap on earnings helped that get created. Okay, let's move on though. We got plenty to look at. I want to move into a little bit of maybe some of the bottom patterns. We'll go kind of top, bottom here as we set this up, mix things up a little bit. Here is a let's see. This is Amazon. I'm sorry about that. We've got this one here, Amazon. So I wanted to highlight Amazon here in sort of this is sort of a still with the trend, sticking with the trend here, but look at this with me. Shoulder, head, shoulder off of a pullback. You can see that right there. There's your pullback right there. Now, sometimes these will form right over here. And let's highlight this. I'm going to jump over here, just quickly point this out to you. So off of the bottom, pulling this up, incorporating additional tools in here. I actually sent a X post on this out as well. But right there, see how we bounced? Not unusual for some of these middle three, which a lot of traders will really focus in on. It's not to say the others levels of the Fibonacci ratio don't work, but using Fibonacci relationships as well to kind of help us because you can get bottoms forming in here. And with this, there might be some support because notice over here, where was the last support at in terms of the shoulder? 50%, folks. 61.8 for the head of the inverted head and shoulders pattern. And the possibility, question mark here again, we don't know if it's forming, but it might be an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now to keep these drawings on here to show you that price projection, I'm going to use this same level from high to low. I'm trying to draw these just vertically here to highlight this. But what we're looking for is actually a break above the high points, this point, right, of the head and shoulder level pattern. And I'm going to show you where that extension would be. I'm going to duplicate this instead and just move one line over, keep the existing line, but right there. Now, that's a lot of lines on the chart. The Fibonacci's don't help out in terms of a lot of lines, but they can be useful lines. That is the 61.8. I know that this number, I mean, some of you have used Fibonacci ratios, but they can develop around patterns and they can be quite helpful. The thing I'm pointing out here is if we get a starts to break, if they're bullish on Amazon, let's say they wanted to go a total of 50 shares, maybe they go 25 there, plus 25, and maybe plus 25 up top on the breakout. with this projection right there. Now, notice where that takes us. If we were to get that price projection, folks, high and high right there, real close to prior highs. That again, though, is a decent size move, is it not? If it were to unfold, that's right around 250. That's just above 270. In my book, that's just over $20. Now, that is the expectation. Again, but that is one of the things that really lure in a lot of, I should say, interest a lot of traders, investors, is that projection potential on the pattern itself. Can we reach this level? And by the way, backing out, I'm just going to go to a longer term chart here. There you go. How's that trend been on the weekly? Not too bad. Can we continue on up? Maybe that inverted head and shoulders is an interesting level to watch right there. And you could potentially put in a, let's say, for example, an alert at 50, an alert above 38 too. Why not? You could throw it in there, perhaps, right, into that range. And that could be something. Let's see. Question is, Mike, is it possible to set up a scan for this pattern? It is, Riceberg, for, I think you were talking about, oh, the triangle, maybe. Triangle, you're going to get a lot of this on the triangle, Riceberg, is this. You're going to get this move up here that looks a lot like a kind of a flag pattern. You can flip this pattern, just to answer this question specifically, that we had built over here. I'll throw it in just so you have it. Just a simple, straightforward, oh shoot, I'll just open it real quick and just give you that one, just so you have it up top here. So copy that link. If you want, you can just flip this into a weekly chart. More on this tomorrow in our Think Script class. In fact, I've expanded this script, enhanced it for charting, so you can see it on the chart. But just as a heads up, I'll put this in here if you want to take a look at it here. Yeah, let's see, and specifically for patterns, using the scan tab to find those. There it is right there. That is the watch list, I believe. I did the watch list? I don't know. No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Sorry. I think I did the okay, that'd be this one. Sorry about that. Just stop. Put this one here. Here's the actual class itself. This is the one, if you don't want to look at the others, there it is. Okay, that's the class. All right, so very good. I think I got that. I think we're all set. Bear flag alternatively, says Barb. Yeah, you could look at a bear flag too there, Barb, for sure. Yeah, you could. You could. I mean, in this case, is there that bear flag? Look where the trend's been. It's been down here. So really what the key thing is, and this really comes back to that confirmation, because it's an interesting point. Could this be a bear flag? And one of the things too, is it a longer flag pattern? This still is a higher low than what we've got over here. So it really it is interesting on something like this. What you would like to probably see if it was a bear flag is something like maybe taking out that where you thought there was a shoulder, and maybe even this level as well. Honestly, it might be there might be a bigger flag coming down though, if that's the point. But again, it comes back to kind of running through sort of your scenario here. Where does the upside break have to occur to get maybe this thing started to break out above here? For the bear flag, you could even wait to make it to see if it breaks below the 61.8. But I like where you're going with that. No doubt about it. Next one. And I want to do this too, because that's an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but it's actually got that a lot. Let's put it this way, a long-term flag depends on your time frame. This could also be a longer term flag as well. To really extend this out, there's a lot of different time frames, and you have to know what time frame you're trading. Very, very difficult to go from short term to long term to short term. It can be confusing and sort of a dangerous approach to investing, because you're seeing something on a short term, you got to stick with it. Don't go long term to short term and vice versa unless you like the short and long term. Like, for example, if this breaks out, Amazon shows strength over here, and now you can see this move. Do you see it? That's the bare bottom level of a bull flag. You don't want to see it go below 61.8, but guess what? You hit the 61.8 and bounced. So where could the projection be? Up here. In fact, let's go into a little bit more of that with some of the price patterns. There was one I did in my swing trade class yesterday that did not It had a horrible move. We looked at it yesterday. It didn't give the bounce. It wasn't not like a sort of a bounce off this level, but this was sort of the flag right there. It was holding for a number of days, and it broke down. Ralph Lauren did, but it was holding right at the prior highs too. Oh, doesn't mean it can't bounce back up, but that is sort of a classic bull flag type pattern, right? Where it's flagging up, like right here. Here is your flag coming down and up right there. That could be a potential move to the upside. For example, just kind of highlighting a few things that you're seeing there. Now, we'll see what happens on that one. BMY. Do you see the longer term here? I actually have some Fibonacci's on here, holding closer to the 38 too. This is really staying. I'll just stick with the longer term here for just a minute. This is what you might call a longer term or even a weekly flag type pattern coming up here. That's like a weekly flag. I'm going to go with the daily flags here in just a moment, but there you go. Weekly flag. What's the potential move? Well, it could be big. And by the way, for the first time in this entire downward move, look at this. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Oh, higher high. First time right there. Taking out that 23.6 fib, measuring this entire range roughly, right? So you're getting that. I'll even say this, you do tend to get a confluence of price patterns. I'm actually seeing something interesting here. It's a version of it, shoulder head. It's kind of a double-headed shoulder over here, and then shoulder over here. Do you guys see it? You still have to come down here, but if it began to break out above this line right here, well, there could be something else emerging to get the longer term flag pattern moving. Because I want to show you what that projection looks like here in just a second. This is like a pattern within a pattern, and you'll see this unfold a lot. Okay, I'm going to kill these fibs for now to just kind of make this a little bit easier to see. But here's this price projection. In fact, ooh, I'll do the weekly, even better, easier to see. There you go. There's the weekly chart. Now, do you see it? Do you see the flag pattern? With just new highs on that daily chart. Let's do it. I'm just going to do a quick outline of it so you can kind of see it here, but it would look a lot like this. Off the bottom to the top, using the same price range. And you can probably see the flag in there. That's noted for the flag. They refer to this flag pattern. A lot of traders really focus in on flags because you're getting a strong move to the upside and a very mild move to the downside. If we're talking bull flags here, quite the opposite if we go back into what Barb was talking about on that shorter term with the flag. Okay, and by the way, now we're talking about time because Barb did mention the time element as well. Let's hit the time element real quick on the price element. Take this price measured off the anticipated bottom, and that is your price projection, not a bad move. I'm just eyeballing it here, but this price over to this price starting at the bottom, that is why these weekly price patterns can be interesting because you can try to spot or capture an extended, what are we going to get here? Trend. A lot of ways to play the trend in there. Now, to bring up the point that Barb brought up with timing, how long can that flag last? Oftentimes, now this is just general rule. Oftentimes, the move coming up is this distance or perhaps even a little bit shorter. A lot of times the follow through can be a little bit shorter time frame, okay, than what the initial pole of the flag took to develop. Okay. One of the things too is if you hit your target before it takes this period, so let's just say it runs up or whatever, it hits it quicker. Well, don't even worry about time. You hit your price target. Okay. Now, how about Mike? We get past some of these. Nobody came out and asked me for weekly patterns, right? You guys like the shorter term. I got a lot more shorter term than I do longer term. Wanted to highlight a couple of them, but shorter term. Okay. Now, in terms of target, you're getting what's referred to here. Now, this has been kind of a jagged move. It's not like a really great looking flag. That's a big move to the downside, but the character of the trend, the structure of it has looked like this. When you have these moves up, they pull back quite a bit. Look at this one, pulled back a lot. This pulled back a lot. This pulled back a lot from here, but there can be some of these follow throughs. Like, for example, if this was a big flag pattern, you might get a bigger one coming up right here. Let's get into some that look a little bit more clear on this. But let's highlight this, a quick point. Prices coming down, down, down right there. Will we get this bounce up? That's the question, right? Will it kind of flag up and go higher? One of the things that traders will look for to get us started is the hold pattern right there, closing above the high of the low day. Now, I can't say we've got that yet because the day is not done. But if we closed above the high of the low day, that can get us started on these flag type patterns. That can get us out of our base, right? And get us moving, right? Possibly out of a range there. Just going to pull this guy in here for a second. By the way, I did mention the Think script. Sometimes the Think scripts aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy. I'm just going to bring this up because this is kind of one of the points that number of traders we've been talking about previously. But you can go back on that script, or excuse me, that class that I shared. It does have the script in there. I don't want to go into it in this class. We just don't have the time to go into it. But to try to find some of these price patterns, it's a really common one that a lot of traders will look at. Let's just choose another one in here as well. Let's just do something like, oh, so this one had a number of these that we were actually looking at in this class. That Rachel looks at and other classes, but you can see over here, like classic price bull flag pattern. You see it come down right there, hold right there, and entry point perhaps there as well. Now, one to the downside, we don't want to have everything to the upside, but here is an interesting one on, for example, Walmart. Now, Walmart has broken down. Lower lows, lower highs. There's the possibility of a bear flag. You broke these lows right there. Trend down. Okay, where is the extension of this at on Walmart? They just cut their prices too. Walmart did. There was a big note on some of their prices being cut. I don't know, that kind of helped it bump up a little bit, but notice we're coming right into resistance right there. But if we were to look at this on a downward type move, look at this, folks. This is the move to the downside, bear flag. So you just take that same move, it's just inverted. That price range, right, coming up here, you measure it off that top. Let me change colors to highlight it. So that's going to put us, if I'm measuring this price, down to about 100, which is a big round number. A lot of support can reside at 100 and could be an interesting target if Walmart goes down there. I just threw in Target on there. We just looked at Target, an interesting target on Walmart. No, if you ever wanted to see this a little bit easier, my eyes are more geared. I've looked at a lot more bullish type trades over the years than I have bearish. Just do this simple thing on Thinkorswim. Go up top. It's a really cool tool as well. Put a minus in front of WMT. Do you want to see this as a bull flag and get that same price projection because it's inverted the same way? There you go. If we flip Walmart around upside down, that's what you get. Let's see where our target's at. Oh, what if you were looking at this on the chart? Do you see this setup? You see what I'm saying here? Oh, double bottom. It's actually a double top in reality. There's that flag we just drew. Coming on down here, price projection of the flag right there. Right here off that bottom. That price projection is going to be upwards of 100, but I'm not going to trust my hand. Let's go ahead and use these tools that we've got right here at our fingertips to get an accurate perspective of where that is. That's the move off that bottom. If I activate this and pull it over to that range, how close were we? Close to 100, not quite. We're very, very close to that level, but still you could say Walmart coming down, where's it resting at? Prior highs. In this case, the reality is prior lows. We'll flip it back around so you can see it, but there could be some additional weakness, right? To minus 100. As we're going up here, the prices are dropping. It's like a warped universe, but we got to take out the minus sign, an inverse universe. There we go, inverted universe. parallel universe. I think that's what they call it. Anyways, there you go. Now, do you see us coming back to that resistance? Just about the time you're ready to pull back down. Interesting. Wanted to throw one in there. Can't be all bullish. Let's mix it up a little bit. CDNS for some more. Okay, there is, I would still call this a longer term sort of a flag pattern. Really some good strength over here. Explosive move with the markets pulling back like an ABC or a zigzag down pattern. Notice we did take out these higher highs over here. All else equal, that's positive for the longer term. So if we start to maybe get a little bit of a move here, it could be interesting. I think it's time to put in another alert, a really awesome alert that is helpful. That's not just a horizontal alert, but a trend line alert. Downward sloping trend line on that flag pattern. Look at it coming down over there, touching off some highs. If we break this level, that can be the start of a potential trend line coming up. I mean, I should say the trend continuing up higher. Also, too, just saw it here. We bounced off prior highs, kind of a staircase pattern. This is a better mouse I've got right now, folks, but it doesn't help me with my straight lines too well. All right, let me right click over here. Look at this one. Now go down to this. Not create an alert, but the system's smart enough to know that if I clicked on a diagonal line, we can create alert with this drawing. That trend line, isn't it cool? We will know when it breaks above there if we get an alert on that. You got to flip this though. Crosses, folks, above. And all I'm going to put down here, trend line break. I always like to put question mark in, but then that way I can have, try to be notified through that mobile device. And I can come and take a look at this for a potential pattern developing. And what would that pattern be? There you have it. There's that bull flag again. Could be a really interesting move if you start to get going. In other words, what we're seeing here on a small scale is exactly what we had seen. I mean, the trader could be anticipating this, but they'd be anticipating, folks, this kind of a price strength move, right? Is that something you want to be looking at? Probably. Oh, by the way, Chris says not working if you're using log scale. Okay, good to know. I've never used log scale. I've just used prices, not percentages, but that's a good thing to note. And I have been getting those alerts through the price. So there you have it. All right. Yeah, it is a fun trick. You want to flip CDS, CDN, you flip anything on its head on the Thinkorswim platform. There you go. Doesn't look too good, right? Would look like maybe a giant bear flag. Well, the reality of this one, which is not the reality of Walmart, is it's more bullish, right? No minus in there. All right, let's hit just a few more. I'm going to highlight these just in the last few minutes so guys can kind of see them over here. This is sort of, I know it's kind of sideways and all, but see the big move over here? Look at this. Range, 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 range. It's still kind of like a flag pattern. We're finding something else interesting in this flag pattern. This is referred to as can be a measured type move. Do you see the range in here? Now, instead of this gigantic price move, that actually might end up being similar as I look at it. Look over here with me. Pull this down. This is referred to as a measured move right here. Now, this measured move, you're just looking at this range from the highs going up to that level. Ooh, putting it close to that 150. That's a projected price target, right? That's a big round number, but over there. So if you were to get a longer term break, another very interesting level to maybe put an alert on, it's a longer term development, but that could be that move. Notice how interesting this is. This is going to blow your mind. Okay. The market's so symmetrical in so many ways. If I were to draw that flag pattern in here, where's the flag pattern drawn from? The bottoms. Measured move off the top, flag pattern off the bottom. Look at this. If I take this price off the bottom, which is our flag, draw it off here. See where it puts me? Same general area. So we've got two potential measurements, but has it happened yet? No. But that's what a trader might anticipate if you start to break above a level, or you might have other great indicators that you're taking a look at that could help you out. A couple of these measured moves, and then we're set. because time flew by in this class. It's so fun, price patterns. Look at this one. Anybody see? I'm gonna give you a chance to spot the measured move. Do you see it off the bottom? 1 year chart. It's a little longer term. You can do this short term too. I just noticed there were a few of these longer term ones developing. Right over there. Going back to my mouse again. Right here and here. Okay? Right here and here. If you were to take this off, it could be. Financial's having a rough day, by the way. This is a financial, I believe. There you go. Last one. You guys see it? That's the measured move. Take this range, measure it to the upside on a breakout. By the way, breaking above 100 could be an interesting level. Time is up, but I'm going to throw you this one. Let's see. One that's already broken higher. This is our REIT measured move. This one already might be in the process of developing its measured move range, folks. If you like today's presentation, smash that like button. Follow Brett and I on X, Brett Crowther CS. He's got some great stuff there. Mike Fairborn CS as well, folks. Be sure to follow us again right here on our, not there, right here. Get back. Sorry, folks, to our channel. There it is. Our channel right there. Okay, Trader Talks channel. Threw that in the chat. Love to have you on board. Everybody, it's been great being here with you. I'm going to throw out just one last one. SNPS. There you go. Measured move potential. Oh, potential, keyword. It's got to break above some highs as well. But on that note, everybody, great being with you. Rachel being next week. She teaches a great class. Thank you, Brett, for your help in the chat. Everybody have a fantastic rest of the day. Great being with you. See you all next time.